Gunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and it is time for my review of the second studio album from Teminite, Uprising, and I've actually got Teminite here with me today to do this review. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, this is Teminite, and it's a pleasure to be back on your channel, Landon.
Yes.
It's been 2 years, I believe.
It has. I reviewed Sam's debut album, Inception, back when it released in 2016. And I liked certain aspects of that album, I'd say, quite a bit, but I never really saw that album. I don't feel like it entirely hit its full potential. So I'm excited to be back reviewing an album with you of an album that I feel like is a pretty significant improvement from the first. And I would like to note before we get into this review that this is actually our second time running through this. We recorded a review about 3 weeks ago.
That was about 2 weeks ago, I think.
About 2 weeks. We went and recorded the whole thing and then ran into a few different issues, both with the audio and with the syncing of like the audio to the video. You know, I'm typically thinking like, I'm one to say there's nothing you can't fix with editing, but this was kind of an issue that wouldn't really have been possible or like beneficial with my time. It would have taken me like weeks to fix the issue. So I was like, let's just go ahead and re-record it so we don't have to deal with those issues. So here we are, and I figured I'd clarify that just in case anything I come out and say might be awkward because it may have already been said before. So yeah, now you guys know that. Let's get that out of the way. What I was kind of continuing with, though, is that yes, I do think this album is a significant improvement over Inception. And I kind of want to know, from your standpoint, how was this album, the creation of this album, I guess, like a different journey, and how did you approach the creation of this differently?
With Inception, it was very much me creating bangers and trying to, get... They didn't really mean much. Like they, I loved making them. But with Uprising, there's a very specific meaning to the whole album, and it means a lot to me. Whereas Inception, although I love all the tracks, it's like, it's not as meaningful to me, not as emotional really. So yeah, with Uprising, it's like Uprising meaning the journey I went on in my life in the time I made it. I made it in 2 years. It's like a sort of telling a bit of a story, really.
How would you describe like the story of this album? I guess like how does this album progress, like as a story? How does it portray your life over these past couple years?
So I went through a bit of a low time in my life. These tracks were made when I was coming out of it and completely out of it. So that some of the tracks were made when I was only just coming out of it, and some of them made when I'd completely broken out of that low part, and I was super stoked about everything. The message is motivation and positivity and lots of positive energy, really. That's the main sort of vibe of the album.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I mean, some of my favorite moments on the album, and I think if I remember correctly, some of your favorites as well, were those really positive moments that felt like you were kind of not uprising in the sense that it's like an epic war uprising like the intro kind of makes it feel, but like an uprising out of the dumps, I guess you'd say. A song like Standing Tall. I just love the super positive message of the song, the lyrics, everything about it just feels super bright and energetic and happy, I guess, which made me really enjoy it, because I guess there are brighter moments on Inception as well, but this album really as a whole I felt like kind of thrusted that forward even more. But one thing I wanted to note before we get any farther is one of the things that really caught me onto your music to begin with. I originally found you off of that Pegboard Nerds Hero remix, the competition winner that was on Monstercat a few years ago. And one of the things that really attracted me to your music is the, I guess, very musical aspect of it, because as we were talking about before, back when I was in high school, I wasn't all that crazy about dubstep because it sounded very noisy, very focused on sound design, which I didn't appreciate as much at that time. And I liked things that were more melodic centric and musical, I guess. And you've kind of taken both of those worlds and kind of collided them together with your music. And I've always enjoyed hearing those like ripping synth solos in like the middle of your songs. Those really powerful melodies that made me catch on beyond just the design and like the sounds that you're pushing forward in your music. I've always appreciated the melodies. So yeah, that kind of returns on this album a little bit, I'd say, except it's even more intense because you're not just focusing on like having big super saw melody or anything like that. You've got like jazz influences and real instruments and big like drum set fills going on and electric guitar. There's an organ on both Monster and Standing Tall. It's just like there's so much musicality, I guess, that you don't typically find in dubstep music, or like bass music in general. And I'd say that's one of the things, I'd say that might actually be the thing I appreciate most about this album. I think you mentioned last time we recorded that you're going to school right now and learning jazz.
Yeah, I'm studying at Leeds College of Music, and yes, studying jazz performance on the saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I decided to do that because I found that being a producer got a bit lonely, just like very 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 isolated. Mm-hmm. As I know Pandorize did an EP focused around how that, and I actually had a similar sort of feeling at that time. The isolation when you're just by yourself with your laptop, you know. Mm-hmm. When you've been doing it for so many years as well, it's like when you first start, it's incredible. You want to be by yourself, you don't want to see people, but
for sure,
it got a bit repetitive and I needed something new. So I thought I'd go to music college, study jazz, meet some awesome people, and collaborate with loads of them.
So I think it's really cool that your journey in going to school and studying these jazz elements played like a big role into the album's creation, I'd say, because like one of the big changes from the first album over to this one is those jazz influences, and one of the things that I really appreciate. Also, I think you had mentioned at some point that like Haywire was a big inspiration to a lot of this stuff on this, and I've always really enjoyed his blend of electronic music and jazz. I think the kids are calling it new jazz or something like that, the kind of stuff he does. I guess one of the things that really impresses me when we're talking about dance music and jazz kind of colliding is the usage of like really tense chords and like I guess notes that you wouldn't normally hear in a record that's just using like your standard key signatures.
Like the chord extensions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and that's something that appears, I'd say, a decent amount on this album, and something that I really like it for. I just wanted to start getting into this album track by track, so we can discuss the individual songs. Uprising, actually a pretty epic intro, I'd say. I love the orchestral elements, the strings, made the intro to this album just feel super. Yeah, I guess epic would be the word. It feels like I'm getting into something that's just huge, like bigger, maybe even bigger than this album is. It makes it, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm about to get sucked into like a big war or something. Like it has that kind of feel. It gave me a little bit of like Excision vibes, even like some of his intros to his various albums with like the deep voice, like deep Megatron voice or something like that, like big beastly vocals, and then just makes you feel immersed into the world that you're kind of trying to create. And this album, this song, I guess I should say, is pretty beastly. I love the drop. I love the growls. Not to say that this is my favorite drop on the whole album, because there is another one that I enjoy a lot. But yeah, I think I had mentioned last time that that little bum 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 bum. So, I don't know. It just gets me so pumped. I just want to like headbang so hard that my neck just like snaps. It's that little 4-note section just gets me so stoked for whatever reason. I guess like the way you've layered everything in that spot just feels so full and rich.
It's got like a combination of lots of different elements, including like lots of bass and also like trombones.
Yeah,
I had my brother play trombone on that part.
Okay,
as well.
that's really cool. State of Mind, I think if I remembered correctly, you said was your favorite song to do on this, and would you want to kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean it links to the meaning of the album a lot. So I wrote it when I was coming out of the low point, and I was almost out of it at that point, and I made this idea, and I was like, yes, I'm back, sort of thing. I was back, like really loving what I was making, and that track, the lyrics mean a lot to me. It's the first time I've written lyrics that have actually really meant a lot. Because sometimes, I write some lyrics, but they don't really have a deep meaning.
Right,
they just sound cool. But that track also means a lot because it was the first track I've managed to sort of do a live performance on. So I designed it so it could be played live. Right, and hence my live performance video, which you can check out.
Plug, make sure to check that out. I wanted to say that A State of Mind is actually one of my favorites on the album as well. Probably not quite at the number one spot, but it's pretty close. I love the sax solo. That really caught me off guard the first time because I guess I had heard like the saxophone usage on Inception, and I must have assumed that wasn't you or something. And then,
I think you mentioned
when I heard
thought it was Jonah.
I saw you like
Jonah
performing
Hitchens playing the.
Yeah, I thought it was Jonah before. But that was totally you, and I really enjoy. I guess while we're on that topic, I want to say that the there was a couple tracks with Jonah Hitchens on the last album, and I want to say that the kind of the elements from those that carried over, because I think I remember in my review I had said that those two tracks made me look forward to something really interesting, made me look forward to the future with your music. I guess the elements that did carry over from those two tracks I feel like were significantly improved as well, which made this album pretty cool. So I love the sax solo on that song. I love how you fill in the drop with just those little sound elements, I guess. The whole thing was just a really cool experience, and I like the live video a lot too. When I was watching through the live video, it's not like I'm watching through like a Haywire type of video where he's just constantly doing things on the keys. But I do like it how you are able to kind of balance between a few different things on in the live performance video, especially the sax, because you would never see Haywire pull out a saxophone and start playing in the middle of one of his. Moving on, A New Dawn, as like UKF had said and kind of hyped up the song a little bit, because this one got an upload on the UKF music channel, which was really exciting. I was really hyped to see that song make it. Just a really fun mid-tempo electro tune. I guess the thing that I liked the most about it was like the usage of electric guitar. I think that was a little bit more prominent on this song than a lot of the... I know there's some guitar on other spots on this album, but this is the song that I felt like it really stuck out the most to me. No matter how much I listen to this song, though, and how much I appreciate it, the intro still reminds me of like a mix of Fourth Impact by Kid and Rez and Bangarang by Skrillex. I can still hear like in the intro when I'm listening to it, like the shout to all my boss boys, like at the beginning of Bangarang or whatever. It has that kind of feel to it.
I was actually influenced by a very old track of mine. It's called High Flyer, and it starts off with a did, and I was like, if I take that concept, like just having a sort of little thing by itself, and then everything sort of comes in afterwards. That's where that came from, essentially. But you're right, it does have a relation to Bangarang as well.
Party Time, if you remember the last time we talked about this track, the main thing that I guess I had an issue with was just the Bright Lights vocal, the We Don't Need No Sleep because the party don't stop, that I feel like has been used in, like every producer has used at this point. But, like, honestly, the more I listen to this song, I guess the less that kind of bugs me. And I appreciate this track for a lot of different reasons that I guess I don't think I went over as much last time we filmed. And, like, I don't think the vocal necessarily has to be there. Like, I think there are plenty of elements that would have perked my interest, I guess, without it being there. Like, there's, like, the little synth line going on in the background. And, yeah, there's enough happening in the track where I didn't feel like it was necessary, but it doesn't bug me as much as it did before. And I gotta say, like, man, there are so many great things about, like, the switch ups in the drops on this song. I really enjoy, like, the halftime sections. Those were amazing. And then I also really, I think I forgot to mention before that the 4 on the floor, the drop is just nuts. Like, probably my favorite part about the track. It actually reminded me a little bit of, like, something you might find on the, like, Destroyed album. But it's even, like, more insane. Like, just the whole design of it just gets me so pumped. And then, like, the switch into the halftime section.
The sound design
like,
is a bit ridiculous on the second drop.
Yeah.
It's like, how insane can I make it sound?
Standing Tall, I'd have to say, is my favorite song on the album. Number 1 spot right there. I remembered I was, like, scrolling through Facebook one day, and I saw you were, like, prepping this talkbox solo for the album, and I watched through that, and I was just like, what on earth? Like, I guess that was, like, the first little taste of the album that I got, and it was just, like, such a big jump from, like, where you were with the first album, I guess. And yeah, I really appreciated that. I love the talkbox solo. As I said, love the lyrics, love the message. Even Jonah's, like, vocal performance, I'd say, is an improvement over, like, his stuff on there. And I should probably check out, like, some of his solo music. If
he's got
me to listen
a new
to
album, new EP, I think.
And I just love the groove of the song. It's so bright and it's so funky and fresh. Just an overall great song. And as I said, there's, like, a little bit of organ in there as well, which was interesting. Just an amazing tune. And it stands out really from basically every other song on this album. I mean, obviously there are other songs that do have a little bit of jazz influence, but this one really takes all of that to, like, the next level. I guess moving on, we've got Make Me, which nothing's really changed on my opinion of that song. I don't like it nearly as much as most of the songs on this album, and I think more or less I don't want to. The only major criticism I guess I have to say with the song is that just I guess when I'm listening to dubstep and there's, like, growls that just get, like, repeated and repeated and repeated, kind of bug me a little bit, and that I feel like this was probably, in the terms of, like, the drop, was probably the most repetitive of the bunch. It felt more looped than a lot of the songs in this album. But I do appreciate certain things on the song quite a bit. Like, I like the switch up into the swing time in the second drop. Like I said, one of the things that I appreciate the musicality of this album, that you were able to do that even though you could have just kept it in, like, the same timing, as the first drop. And then I like the the kind of Dion Timmer style, the housey portions of the song with, like, the pitched up vocals. I think it's really the only time that happens on the album, so I appreciated that change up. On the other hand, Rattlesnake, the other collaboration with, like, a lesser-known producer, Evil Wave, God, is absolutely nuts. Like, I can tell you guys had fun making this because, God, some of the growls on this song are, like, some of the most insane I've ever heard. At least, in dubstep. Probably since the Big Crunch. Yeah. I love the way you guys kind of capture that the Middle Eastern vibe a little bit. You really immerse me into that atmosphere and then just make me feel like I'm just being, like, brutally attacked by all the sounds in this. And it's like, that's not in a bad way. I don't feel like my ears are being assaulted or anything, like, in a negative way. I just really enjoy all insane growls of this song and all the elements that went into that. And it also does have a really cool groove. I just like the, similarly with that little 4-note line on Uprising, I really like those bum bum that's going on kind of in the background, and the places they come in are, I feel like, a little bit more unexpected as well. On from here, we've got the tune with Sonar and Chime, which I was very stoked for this song, and I think this is another one that I appreciate even more than I initially did when we had talked about the album before. When we had gone into the review last time, I had not realized that the story with like Sonar's voice, Sonar sings on this song. Did he do production on it as well?
Yeah, he did. He did a little bit of it, and he did some. He had a creative input into the arrangement, and stuff like that. Yeah. The whole
story about the man becoming the werewolf is like a parallel to his own life and like his issues with anger, which I think is really cool. And I like, because I don't know, you don't get a lot of dubstep these days that just feels like a personal story, at least in the lyrics. I don't know, lyrics in dubstep can be a bit nonsensical sometime, and this is one of the few songs that I've heard as of recent that feels like it's really tying into someone's personal life, which is cool. And I also, one of the things that I really appreciate about the track is it adds even more like diversity to the album, because even though it is pretty dubsteppy, it is cool to hear like Chime's signature sounds. Like a lot of those appear in the second half of the song. And really, I'd say the only complaint I have about it is kind of similarly to where I talked before. I don't love the vocal performance, and that's not a criticism with Sonar as an artist, because I checked out the kitchen mix that you guys did, I heard some of the other songs that he was singing on. It was like, okay, these were actually really well done, and I'm gonna have to force myself to go through the EP you guys did together. But I feel like his vocal performance was a little less than the bar he set. That's just my opinion, obviously. Some people are going to enjoy what he's going for there. But we've got Crushing on You, which is an interesting song, another one that adds a bit of diversity to the album because it's the one future bass tune. I think we had talked about before you had kind of gone for a different style, and then it just worked itself into being like future bass. Like how did that happen?
Yeah, it was like Georgia wrote the vocals, we recorded them, and then I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was like, I'll just make a dubstep track. That's what I always do. That's what I'm best at, sort of thing. So I tried for quite a while. I think it was like a couple of months to try and get a good drop for it. It was weird writing in B because it's normally a bit lower, and none of the sounds I was making I was happy with, and I was like, alright, let's just forget dubstep for a second. I'm gonna try something else, and ended up with a feature bassy thing, and I've never made anything like that before, so it's quite nice.
Yeah.
Quite nice to dive into.
It was cool because like if this was coming off of an album of a producer who typically makes future bass music, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed the song quite as much. I don't think I mentioned that before, but I like the way that you have adapted future bass into this album, and I like the groove of the song too. I think it works really well with what you're trying to do with like the future bass. I had mentioned before that it even I feel like it almost has like a reggae type of groove, and then like I really like the blend of future bass into that. And then the vocals are fine too. I kind of wish at some points in the song that some more things were being said, like that there was a little bit more variation in the lyrics and the vocal, because it feels very short and very top-liney to me. And then the drop, switches things up a little bit. Not really a lot to complain about that song. It's enjoyable, kind of poppy, but it's like that's the only time we get anything like this on the album, so it's fine. Another thing that I learned between when we did the first recording and this one is that Ascent is actually a very old song.
Yes.
Like holy moly, this one actually came out. This came out before Inception, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I had no idea that was a thing, and I guess that's a compliment to you, because I felt like it fit on the album just fine.
Yeah.
It's not to say you haven't improved since the creation of this song, and I don't necessarily love this song as much as the others, but I think your decision to place this song where it is actually worked. And I wanted to ask you, like, what was behind that decision to put like such an old song here at the end of the album?
I did an album called Firepower, which is not like an album I wrote, like, that was supposed to be an album. It was a compilation of my old tracks that I wanted to, put on Spotify and Google Play and iTunes and stuff. We forgot about Ascent, and like, me and my manager, we forgot Ascent. So we were like, oh no, what are we gonna do about this? And this was while I was making my Uprising album, and I was like, oh well, I'll just put it on Uprising because it kind of fits with the whole vibe, as you said.
Yeah.
And I thought it fitted well, and it was that's kind of the reason, because it it wasn't like supposed to be on Uprising. It's supposed to be on Firepower, but it just so happens that it fit quite nicely.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know how many
accidents.
situations have ended up like that, but yeah, I enjoy the fact that it's on there. And that it references such a different part of your career, I suppose. And like I mentioned before, one of the things that really makes this song feel like a good closer to me, I guess, is not only like the super solid synth solo near, like, I guess the back end of the track, but like the fact that this song I think has the same progression as The Final Countdown by Europe, and it like kind of reminds me of that song a little bit. So just the whole feel of the song makes it feel like this big epic closer, even if that might not have been what you originally intended for it. But I feel like that kind of that helps the song in this case. It feels right. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I think this album is a pretty significant improvement over Inception. And I feel like this is a really solid bass music album to begin with, like in the context of this year. As I mentioned before, like there aren't a lot of dubstep artists who feel like they're really in tune with the musical aspects of their music, I guess, and it's all about the sound design. But I feel like you have gone beyond that. Some of your design is really incredible too, and like I said, some of your growls are just mind-blowing in some instances. But you're also very in tune with the musical aspect, using those jazz elements and having melodies that feel impactful. So yeah, this album to me is great. One of my favorites of the year for sure. Really glad you put this out. And yeah, I gotta say congratulations for putting together. I feel like a lot of dubstep artists don't last long enough for 2 albums, but you have not only done that but shown a massive improvement over the first one, which I'm really happy about. You basically and you're still working. Like I feel like I could say that you've hit your full potential, but you're still moving forward even beyond this.
It will never stop. It will never stop.
So I'm excited to say the least. I enjoy this album a ton, and I'm excited to see how you'll move forward from here. So for Uprising, I am feeling a strong 8.5 out of 10. Really enjoy this one a lot. Yeah, big surprise there.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, for sure. Would highly suggest to anyone watching that you go check out this album. If you enjoy BROSTEP and you enjoy very musical jazz and very like musical EDM, I would definitely suggest this album to you. So again, special thanks to Sam for coming to do this and coming to do this a second time. But yeah, we'll catch you guys later in the future, and hope you guys enjoyed the review. We'll see you later. Peace.
Bye.